Snapdragons are one of the most lucrative and profitable floral crops on our farm as far as square footage is concerned. Each one of these 50-foot beds will yield approximately $1,000 US. We plant snapdragons very close together at a 6-inch spacing. To make this spacing as precise as possible, we use the number 5 gritter spool on a nice prepared bed. On each one of those hash marks, we're transplanting 2 to 3 snapdragon plugs. While there are many different varieties of snapdragons to choose from, there are 4 groups, and these 4 groups are what you really need to pay attention to when you're deciding when to plant your snapdragons. These snapdragons that we've planted here for overwintering are a group 1 or 2 snapdragon. That means they bloom well in cold temperatures and short daylight. In early spring, we're also going to be planting more snapdragons. Now those snapdragons will be group 2 or group 3 snapdragons. Group 1 snapdragons are the cold hardiest of all the snapdragons, and they bloom in the lowest amount of light. Overwinter production or forced winter production is really the only time when you're going to be utilizing group 1 snapdragons. Group 2 and 3 snapdragons can be overwintered. They're going to bloom a little bit later than the group 1s that when we do overwinter them. They still perform well in the low light in that cold weather, but they need a little bit more light and heat intensity to bloom when compared to the group 1. So in this succession here that we're overwintering, our group 1s will bloom first, the group 2s will bloom next, and then in early spring we're also going to be transplanting out group 2s and group 3s, and those will follow in succession after our group 2s. So we'll have continual snapdragon harvests for a couple months moving into spring. Group 4 snapdragons are the snapdragons that we plant out into the field. Now you can plant group 2s and 3s out into the field as well, but they're going to bloom earlier. Group 4 snapdragons really perform well in long daylight and hot temperatures. So snapdragons that we're planting out into the field are usually group 4. When summer hits, we actually plant more snapdragons so we can have blooms right now during the fall. This is a group 2 snapdragon. We planted these seedlings out in the end of July or early August, and that gives you a nice fall flush of snapdragons. So you can kind of see the order. We're starting with group 1 for winter blooming, 2, 3 are for those shoulder seasons where it's cool and there is less light but still enough light, and group 4 is for that main summer season. Using this information, you kind of plan out a succession plan to have snapdragons for most of the year. So for our 2026 season, we're going to start planting now, and we'll move through our successions throughout the year, and this is what it looks like. Right now in mid-October, we're going to be planting our group 1 and group 2 snapdragons to overwinter for early spring blooms. In March, we'll transition into planting group 2 snapdragons in our high tunnel. In April, we'll transition and we'll have group 3 snapdragons planted in our high tunnel. May brings group 4 snapdragons, and those are going to be field planted. And then in late July, early August, that's when we're going to be planting our group 3 snapdragons, and those will be blooming now. And then that whole process starts over again. We have snapdragons available for most of the year, and really it's about knowing which group to plant and when, and choosing the right colors so that it's matching your season. Now, regardless of whether we're planting them for overwintering, spring production, summer production, fall, it doesn't matter. We're using the number 5 spool and planting them 3 plugs per grid mark to maximize the amount of blooms that we get per bed foot.